All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. By the way, a reminder, tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun. Michael Avenatti in studio with Danny Tarkanian. That is going to be an interesting debate, but we are going to stick to boxing right now. And the man we have with us in studio right now, you're certainly going to recognize his name. Did a show here at KDWN. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2011, one of the most prominent boxing referees of all time in the history of the sport. You've also seen him in some movies, too, right? Rocky Balboa. Of course, you also saw him in the I Spy movie with Eddie Murphy, Antonio Banderas, and Woody Harrelson. So we have I guess you could say, a Hollywood actor as well as Boxing Hall of Famer, Joe Cortez. Joe, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
It was an honor to be on the show with you today, and we'll talk about boxing, what happened this past weekend, a couple of good things and bad things.
That's what I just said. I said that with Al Bernstein last segment. I said, there's been a lot of ups and downs. We lose Sweet Pea Whitaker. Of course, you refereed some of his fights, I would imagine, right?
Yes, I did.
And that was just a horrible tragedy. Nobody saw that coming. And we'll talk about the great Pacquiao fight, because I know you were ringside for that, and I was there as well. But let's start with this poor 28-year-old kid, a wife and a 2-year-old child. And of course, we're talking about Maxim Dadashev, who fought Friday.
Right.
And, just talking to Al Bernstein and getting a sense from people, it doesn't appear to me that anyone could have done anything differently, right? The trainer came in, they ended the fight. The referee did, I thought he did his job. But what is your opinion on that? Could anybody have done anything differently?
I'll tell you, boxing is like that. Just one punch can turn the whole fight around. I've seen it happen in so many other fighters in the past. It happened to me one time when I first moved to Vegas back in '94. I remember I refereed a fight, Robert Wangila. He was a former Olympic champion from Kenya. And he was in a tough battle like the fight they had Friday night. And he took some punches, and I stopped the fight when I thought that he was like in a concussive episode. He was just, he got dropped by a head blow, but then when he got up, I got close to the action. He took a left and a right, and I jumped in and stopped it. Everybody started booing me for stopping the fight. They said, Joe, he was winning. Why did you stop the fight? Well, I saw something that nobody else saw, I guess. And the doctor, Dr. Campana, checked him out in the ring, and the doctor said, he's okay, Joe. And his corner was upset with me that I stopped the fight. The fans were booing the hell out of me. 15 minutes later, they're running out of the dressing room. He's having seizures.
Oh, my God.
And they rushed him to the hospital, and 2 days later, he passed. So similar to...
Oh, my God. So you're telling me a fight that you refereed in 1994.
Right.
You're telling me this gentleman was most likely winning the fight.
Yeah, he was winning on the scorecard of two of the judges.
And you're a few feet from the action, obviously. You're refereeing this fight. And you saw something that wasn't quite right based on your experience and how good you are at what you do. And you're telling me that their trainers and the crowd was booing you and everybody was after you, and you stood your ground and you made, obviously it was the correct decision, and then tragically this guy is dead 2 years later.
Two days later.
2 days later. That has to stick with you.
Well, you know what? It really didn't, because I know I did the right thing.
Well, you did the right thing, but I'm saying you never forget that, right?
You never forget it, but I took it into a constructive situation. It's something that happened. I mean, it was bad that it happened, but it helped me and it helped other referees to see when I spoke about the situation. And I always do, just to let other referees know, don't be intimidated by the crowd because he's a hometown fighter. Don't be intimidated because he's a champion. When two fighters go in the ring, I look at fighter A, fighter B. They take off that belt, they give it to the commission. That means there's no champion at that moment. Then some referees have to learn that you got to stick by your guns. You got to have thick skin in this business to be a referee. You got to be ready to take the heat and go along with it. But I made that call, and I helped a lot of referees throughout the years, because there are things that we look for, different signs. We are trained by doctors, neurologists like Dr. Albert Campana here in Vegas, and other doctors around the country where I give seminars, and we talk and try to educate the referees of when to stop a fight. Sometimes it's better to stop a fight a punch too soon than a punch too late. But this situation Friday night was something that it was a freaky thing, like it did in my fight.
Is that the only time where you refereed a fight where somebody tragically lost their life in your career?
Yeah, that's the only time. And I think last week somebody came up to me and told me, Mr. Cortez, you've done so many fights. I said, yeah, I guess I have. He said, no, you have. He said, I checked you out, and you've refereed 954 fights when you retired. I said, wow, 954, okay.
Yeah.
And I asked him, how many championship fights did I do?
Right.
And he started telling me, oh, you done over 300. I said, no. forget about the intercontinentals, the international. No,
You're not
about
counting that.
World championship fights. I don't count the other championship fights.
You've done quite a few.
I say it's 176 world championship fights.
You know, in watching that fight, I went back and I watched that fight. And I mentioned this last segment with Al, but he did not get knocked down at all before round 11. In the fight that you reffed back in '94, was there a knockdown in that fight as well?
Yeah, there was a knockdown, and he got up. He was. I know he was there, but he was not 100%.
Right.
But he was still had his guards up, and he was throwing punches. But when he took a left and a right, I immediately jumped in because I saw his eyes when they rolled back, and I was close up. I'm like 2 feet from the action. I'm right there, and I saw something that nobody else can see, only me and his opponent. And I saw his face and how he just turned like that, a split second. You got to jump in immediately. Wow! It's just like when Tony Weeks refereed the Castillo and Diego Corrales fight. I mean, Diego Corrales was down twice in that round, and he got up, and then all of a sudden everything turned around the other way, and Tony Weeks ended up stopping the fight with his opponent who put him down. He stopped the fight, and now the other guy Castillo gets stopped. So I mean, you got to be on your toes as a referee, and it's better, like I said, better punch too soon than a punch too late.
So it's impossible, obviously, to be perfect when you're refereeing any sport, let alone boxing. And you were one of the best in the business for a very long time. But with that being said, have you ever, you go back in your career, do you say to yourself, I should have let that fight go a little bit longer? Do you have any regrets where you think of one or two fights where you say, I wish I did blah, blah, blah differently?
Well, let me tell you one thing. And this is a fight Bob Arum, promoter, Bob Arum said, when Manny Pacquiao fought Juan Manuel Marquez, they fought 4 times. Yeah. And for the 4th fight coming up, I remember Bob Arum saying, I know Joe Cortez, people forget 8 years back, he said they forget that Joe Cortez, when Juan Manuel Marquez went down 3 times in the first round, and the referee in this planet could have stopped the fight, but Joe saw something that nobody else saw. And I guess it was my experience and looking at the expression of Juan Manuel Marquez's face when he went out the 3rd time. He got hit kind of a punch, like when one glove was already down, he got hit with another punch. Well, you could say, he hit him while he was down, sort of. And I saw the reaction on his face, like, come on, Joe. He hit me. He hit me when one glove is on the canvas. He gave me that reaction.
Right.
Had he not given me that reaction, I probably would have stopped it.
Wow,
but
that's crazy.
He showed me that he was alert. So I let it go. Yeah. It's up to the discretion of the referee. I let it go.
And you made the right decision.
And I did because he got a draw out of that fight.
Yes.
And because of that, they got fight number 2.
They made a lot more money.
They paid my number 3. And then the 4th fight,
isn't it amazing,
Manny Pacquiao got knocked out by
I remember
Marquez.
that. Isn't it amazing, though, Joe, that your decision in a split second could be millions and millions and millions of dollars at stake, maybe even in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars at stake because of a split-second decision that you make. That's a lot of pressure, though.
That's just what happened that night with Pacquiao and Marquez. I mean, I made a decision.
Those fights were great. All those fights were
fantastic. I changed the history of boxing because of what I did that night.
And Marquez knocks him out the next fight.
And the 4th fight.
Yes.
Not the next one. They fought 4 times.
4 times,
They made like close to maybe over $400 million.
They made a lot of money.
Because I didn't stop the first fight.
That is so incredible. If you're just joining us, Boxing Hall of Famer, referee Joe Cortez, a fighter in his own right, too, back in the day. So what is the strangest thing that you can recall that a boxer said to you in the middle of a fight in your career?
John Ruiz got hit with a low blow by Kirk Johnson, whom I disqualified for the heavyweight championship of the world. He got hit low. He said, come on, ref, I want to have babies. And I looked at him and I said, you son of a gun. That was it. I mean, he said it with a high-pitched voice, too. I mean, he got hit really low, man. Come on, Joe. I want to have babies.
That's funny. The most out-of-control fight and the most difficult fight that you've ever had to referee.
Well, both not out of control, but one of the craziest scenes that have ever happened was when Floyd Mayweather knocked out Victor Ortiz. Victor Ortiz headbutted.
I was at that fight.
He headbutted Floyd Mayweather intentionally, and then I called time, and I sent him to a neutral corner, and I took the 2 points from Victor Ortiz.
That was weird.
And then I brought him back together. I gave time into the timekeeper, but Mayweather was blocking me a little bit, so I looked just behind Mayweather, made sure he saw me.
Yeah.
When the timekeeper said, yes, I saw you, like he nodded his head. Next thing I know, I said, time in. Now, Victor Ortiz hugged him the first.
He gives him a kiss on the cheek.
Then he hugged him the second time. Then he comes out again the 3rd time. When I said time in, got his 2 hands out, and Manny and Mayweather said, hell,
I'm going to knock him out.
You said, Joe said time in?
What was Ortiz thinking there? Okay, listen, there's a lot of money to be made in that fight. What is Ortiz? And I understand what it is. Protect yourself at all times, right?
And
he kisses him on the cheek.
Come on.
I could see if he just took his glove and went like...
This is not a kissing match.
Yeah.
This is not a love match. We're here to fight.
Let me ask you this, Joe, on that fight. Let me ask you this. I didn't like Ortiz's reaction after the fight. He was smiling. He was happy. He didn't act to me. I'm not saying he intentionally lost the fight, but I'm saying he wasn't acting to me like somebody who just lost the biggest fight of his career. That, to me, was a very strange situation.
Well, let me tell you what happened. I've had lunch with him several times here in L.A. and in New York, and he'll keep telling me, Joe, I apologize for what happened that night. I said, forget about it. You keep talking about it. Don't even talk about it. It's over. It's history. He said, no, Joe, I really feel bad. He said, then one day we would do one of my shows in ESPN in L.A., right behind the Staples Center. We have studios there, and he says, Joe, we were going to go on the air together. He said, Joe, I want to tell you something that happened one day, and he says, I got rid of my team after that fight. I said, well, what happened? He said, Joe, they told me to headbutt Mayweather intentionally.
Did they really?
Yeah. And he said, I had to get rid of my whole team because they were kind of screwed up my whole career.
Does anybody know that?
Well, he said it publicly on the air.
Did he really?
Yeah. I said, you don't talk about it.
I thought he was fighting a decent fight till that point.
He was, but when he went back to the corner, they told him to stop the momentum, headbutt him.
That's
do
stupid.
anything.
That's ignorant.
And he did, and that's what happened. So a lot of people don't know this that goes on behind the scene. That's why I don't feel bad what happened.
Right.
Because he told me himself, Joe.
Well, his corners sound like a bunch of idiots for giving him that kind of...
and he got rid of all of them. He said, I'm not with them any longer.
Well, good for him. Yeah, I thought he was fighting a pretty good fight.
He was.
Yeah.
I mean, he was starting to feel the Mayweather's punches.
Yeah.
And we knew what was coming next. I think he felt it too, but his trainers to tell him to headbutt your opponent, you don't do that.
So that's the wildest fight you've had where you had just the weirdest situation.
But I was not in the fight when Tyson bit Holyfield's ear. I was in the arena, but not in the fight. Mike Tyson told me many times, Joe, if you would have been the referee that night, that would have never happened. You would have never let Holyfield get away with all that intentional headbutt.
What would you have done? What would you if you saw Tyson or any fighter bite somebody's half his ear off? What would you have been your reaction? What would you have done?
Well, let me tell you one thing. When I refereed his last fight, I refereed none of Mike Tyson's fight, but I refereed the last one he had with Kevin McBride. And D.C.
McBride.
And Kevin McBride was like a B-class fighter. That really was. And you know what? He came out there and started boxing. He was tall. He had good reach. They told him box his ears off. I mean, not bite him off.
Right.
Box his ears off. And he was boxing. And Mike Tyson was getting tired. And then they would clinch. And Mike Tyson started twisting his arm. I said, Mike, watch your twisting of the arm. No dirty tactics here. And then next thing you know, Mike Tyson headbutts McBride and cuts him. I said, all right, time. I called time. I said, okay, come on, Mike. I'll take him by the wrist. I'll take him to the judges. 2 points. Next judge. 2 points. Next judge. 2 points. Then I looked at him. He looked at me. And I covered my ears real quick. I was going to bite my ears off.
Is it weird? Do you ever think to yourself, wow, there's in your career, there's tens of millions of people watching me right now? Has that ever gone through your head?
I know it going in there, but you can't let that bother you. You gotta be prepared for that. I did this for 35 years, and I know
you don't let it bother you.
Yeah, no, I be the next fighter myself. I mean, I started back in the amateurs, young kid, 16 years old.
You were like 11 and what? What was your record?
Well, boxer has me for 11-1.
11-1, yeah.
But I've had some fights in Mexico that were not really recorded. I'm 18-1. And but I came out okay in boxing. No great opportunities to get on the right track with the big fight. So you know what? I gave it up early.
I think you made the right decision.
I think so.
You did okay for yourself.
Every dream was to every referee, any fighter was to get into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But you know what? I got in the back door as a referee when I got inducted with Mike Tyson,
Congratulations,
Chavez,
by the way. 2011. There's not many people.
Stallone.
There's not many people that can say that. So congratulations on that. And he's wearing the ring, the Hall of Fame ring. That's really cool. Go ahead, JD. You had a question?
So there were a couple of controversial fights in the last year. They ended up draws. Fury against Wilder and GGG against Canelo. How would you have scored those fights?
It was the Wilder fight. Had Wilder not gone down in that 12th round, he definitely would have won the fight. Even with that alone, a lot of fans thought that he should have won because he looked impressive. And I take my hat off to him. I thought he would get knocked out within 2 or 3 rounds, and he went the distance, and his stocks went up. I mean, he didn't. I mean, Bob Arum signed him up for what? A couple of, I think it was $80 million, and they signed him up. That's how much his stocks went up because he proved that he has a lot to offer in the heavyweight division. He brings a lot of charisma, and in the last fight when he fought Richard Schwartz the other day here in Vegas. I mean, he took the mic. He spoke very well about the fighter, and he started singing. I said, this guy has a second career. If he can't make it in bite, he goes go to singing anyway. But yeah,
just like Al Bernstein.
Like Al Bernstein, my buddy, Al Bernstein. Yeah, and then the fight that the Triple G and Canelo Alvarez. A lot of fans thought that he lost the first fight, and they called it. I believe it was a draw. First one.
Bird.
Adelaide Bird.
Yeah, she was on that one, and I thought her card was bad.
Yeah, and then they had the rematch. A lot of fans thought that he lost the second one. I said, no, he didn't lose the second one. I thought he pulled it out. I mean, you look at the two faces of both fighters, you can see that this guy looked like he was run over by a truck, and Canelo came out clean.
But it's a different perspective when you're a foot or two away.
Yeah.
I've talked to other referees who have said, no, the fight was a lot closer than you thought. I was right there. I've talked to referees off the record that have told me things that surprised me a little bit. I wanted to ask you this because, as you know, sometimes people do bet on boxing, right? But now it's more regulated than it's ever been before. But, you did this for years. So my question to you is this. Has anyone in your career ever come up to you and tried to get you to fix a fight?
Never. I think if people know that if you show respect, you're going to get respect. And I'm the kind of fighter, the referee, that I've always been very strict about how I handle myself in the ring and outside the ring. See, people look at you. You mentioned betting. I would never get close to a betting parlor or even go near a bar during the fight week because people say, we saw him drinking I was maybe drinking a Coke. I'm not a drinker.
Right.
If I saw me in drinking a Coke, they'll say, he was drunk
but
at the bar.
But I would imagine people that have asked you for tips or maybe said, hey, never?
But people, Joe, what do you think? I said, I don't know. I do say, you know what? I don't know. I think let the best man win. I don't know.
Right. Well, that's the professional way to handle it.
It is.
But you understand why I asked that because I'm sure in the past, and I don't know if you know of any situations where maybe that has happened. I'm sure some fights have been fixed in the past.
You know what? We talk about fixed fights. Let's talk about something maybe in a lower level someplace. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen.
Right.
It may happen with small-time promoters. But these big names like Bob Arum, Don King, and Golden Boy Promotion, I don't think they will even dare to mention anything like that to any referee. If that gets back to anybody, the FBI will be on their tail.
Especially now.
Yeah, and they'll all be locked up. And that happened one time about 15 years ago with a small fight. Here in Las Vegas, a small-time promoter from down south came up here to do some preliminary fight, and the guys ended up going to jail when they got caught trying to fix a preliminary fight.
Right.
It was nothing but it goes to show
very difficult for that to happen now.
Oh, yeah, you better believe that.
Yeah.
Joe, two questions for you. One, who is your favorite fighter to watch right now, and who is your up-and-coming star in the sport of boxing?
I still, in my heart, I feel like I'm still a referee, so it's kind of hard for me, but now I'm a boxing analyst,
right?
And I work with ESPN. I work with all the networks. They all call me in to do work, and it's kind of hard. But sometimes I got to say, wait a minute, I'm not a referee anymore. So I look at some of the fighters that are out there. Yeah, you got Canelo Alvarez is one, Lomachenko is another, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, who just got stopped by Andres Ruiz. Now I look at Andres Ruiz. I spoke to him. I did an interview with him not too long ago, and I saw him Saturday night. He was at the fights at ringside. And I said, these are fighters, and you got Deontay Wilder, who's there's Sean Porter, who's fighting now Earl Spence Jr. September 28th.
That's going to be a good fight
at the Staples Center, and it's going to be a great fight because the winner of that fight is hoping he get a win to get to fight
Crawford.
Manny Pacquiao.
You really?
I mean, that's where you're going to make the money.
Next,
if you want to fight somebody, fight Pacquiao.
Yeah.
I mean, Keith Thurman got his first pay-per-view event ever.
Yeah.
He couldn't get that with nobody else out there.
And you've done plenty of Manny Pacquiao's fights, so I want to move to the fight Saturday night. I was there.
Yeah.
I didn't have the seat that you have. I think you're more deserving of a front row seat than I am. But with that being said, what do you make of this man, Joe? He's 40 years old.
40 years young.
And it seems as though since that Mayweather fight, he's just exploded. And he still has the power. He still has the speed. And what Al Bernstein said last segment, he took some shots from Thurman.
He did.
And it didn't faze him. And I never thought that Pacquiao was hurt in that fight. Whereas you look at Thurman, besides the knockdown in the first round, I thought there were several moments in that fight where, especially in the middle rounds, where Thurman took a brutal body shot and he was stumbling. I thought Thurman was hurt in several times in that fight.
Yeah, well, in that 10th round, which I predicted that Pacquiao was going to stop him, I was with Pacquiao during the week doing training, and he asked me. He kept coming to me about 4 or 5 times during this training session. Yes, he asked me a couple of things that he should do in the fight, and I was in the dressing room.
Really?
I was in the dressing room just before the fight. You just give him some pointers about how I felt.
Before the fight, you were in Pacquiao's locker room giving him some advice.
Well,
and
I went over to wish him well one night.
That's incredible.
He came over.
So you're saying, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is fascinating to me. So you're saying you're watching Manny Pacquiao train, right? He's training with some of the best in the world. Freddie Roach, we all know how fantastic he is. And you're telling me he has so much respect for you, and he should, that he came up to you, you're saying, in one of his training sessions 4 or 5 times, asking you for tips and advice.
Yeah. Well, one of the things.
So what does he ask you?
Well, one of the crazy things he asked me was just joking. I guess he was having so much fun. He said, "Joe, if I'm fighting and I tell the fighter like look down at your shoe, your shoes is unlaced, and I clock him and I hit him." He said, "Is that illegal? Is that a legal punch? Is that
what he asked you?"
That's
a cool picture. We're looking at a picture right now. Joe is showing us on his phone of Manny Pacquiao talking to Joe Cortez at one of his training sessions. That's fascinating to me.
And
that's interesting.
Yeah, and he says, I tell him you got to just stay focused
but it's amazing he would ask you that.
Yeah. I said, you've been through this many times with all these guys bad mouthing you. Don't let that bother you. You've been there many times before.
You got to respect Pacquiao for wanting to. I mean, despite the fact that he has had the success he has, he still wants to get better and better.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
Yeah, so he kept coming to me several times during the training session.
That's so cool.
And I would just.
That's got to make you feel good, though, that a man like Manny Pacquiao, who is one of the most well-respected boxers,
not to mention a hero in his home country,
and that rightfully so, he has so much respect for somebody like you, and he should.
Yeah.
That the day of his fight, before his fight, and when he's training the week of his fight, he's having serious conversations with you about strategy and stuff. To me, I just think that's fascinating. That's got to make you feel really good.
I feel really good. I was not expecting that because I got called by Bones Adams. They said, Joe, the gym is closed, but I think you could come by and see him.
That's so cool.
So I went by, and sure enough, I got there, and as soon as he walked into the gym, he saw me.
I can't imagine Floyd Mayweather would do that. Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but I can't imagine his ego that Floyd Mayweather would go up to Joe Cortez and ask you for tips the week of a big fight.
Well, let me tell you one thing about Floyd, okay? I was interviewing him for when he was fighting Canelo Alvarez, and as we were putting the mic on him, and the lavalier mic, I said, let me ask you a question, Floyd. Any possible way you and I can do a little interview in your house tonight? He said, you want to do an interview in my house? I said, yeah, in your house tonight. Tonight? Ricky. He started calling buddy, Ricky, Joe's coming over the house tonight.
That's cool.
He gave me all access tour of his whole house, including his bedroom, even his closets. And I mean,
that's cool.
It was amazing. And we spent like 3 hours that night, for the fight.
So tell me if you agree, because that's a great story. Tell me if you agree. My thoughts on Floyd are that he's kind of got multiple personality disorder, where I've seen him be the nicest, kindest person in the world, whether it's donating money to charity, whether it's signing autographs for fans after one of his fights, or that story you just told me. He's got that side to him where I've seen that a million times. But then I see that other side to him, and maybe you could say, well, that's the promoter side in him. He wants to say some reckless, ridiculous things, but then he has the criminal side of him, and people could say what they want about that, but he was convicted, and he did go to jail for a little while. So, I mean, it seems to me he's just got different sides to his personality.
There's a lot of people in life that commit certain crimes, they do things that they're not supposed to be doing in life, and I believe in second chances. And I have a friend, John Pearson, who's here in Las Vegas. He works for the VA. He works with a peer program to help out those individuals that have been on drugs, alcoholics, homeless, and whatnot, eating out of garbage cans. John Pearson talks about it with a lot of pride because he's helping out individuals that he says, I've been there. I've been clean for the last 6 years, he says. And the VA, he has a federal job at the VA hospital. And, sometimes you got to give somebody a second chance. They want to turn their life around. Doesn't mean because they're bad-mouthing people. There's a time in life that they wake up and realize that they better go the other way. But I do know both sides are most fighters out there.
Sure.
So, Joe, we asked Al Bernstein this question, and he said no. But do you think that Floyd and Manny will have a rematch?
It's boxing is a business these days.
Exactly.
Floyd Mayweather will fight who to make? Okay, I mean, they called me to train Conor McGregor for the fight. When he trained, when Conor McGregor was fighting Floyd Mayweather, they hired me for 5 weeks to train Conor McGregor under rules on boxing. So I was on the contract there with him, and I was in the ring with Conor McGregor while he was sparring with Paulie Malignaggi. And then, that's where the money was at for Conor McGregor. He would have never made $100 million. And
That's true.
Absolutely.
A lot of money
he
was
made
involved
$100
there.
million, and Floyd made a couple $100 million. And then, Floyd, earlier this year, he went to Japan and knocked another MMA guy out, I think, in one round.
I remember
terrible.
that. That was a joke.
That was a horrible fight.
So,
that was a joke.
But he made an easy $10 million.
Of course.
Sure.
He used that
It's
money.
money.
He used that money.
It's money.
Do you
So
think
we only got about one more minute to go. I want to give Joe a chance to plug his podcast. Why don't you tell people how can people follow your podcast?
Well, they could go on the Las Vegas Sports Talk Show with my co-host. We co-host the show together, TC Martin.
Sure, we know TC.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so we do the podcast, and it's not about me, man. I didn't come here for it. I came here to talk about what the fans want to listen to is boxing, man.
That's right.
And
Well, you are
to you.
truly a legend in the business, and your knowledge is amazing. And we're so happy that you took some time to come in studio to join us. We would love to have you in again sometime, maybe a couple days before a big fight, and get to preview that. That would be fantastic. Good luck with your podcast, and we appreciate you coming in, Joe. Thank you so much.
And you can follow me on Facebook as well on the Fair But Firm Show. And remember one thing. I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch him up.
That's right. Joe Cortez, the Boxing Hall of Fame legend. We appreciate his time.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
Coming up next, another legend himself, Ken Thompson. Thank you so much. We'll catch you 22 hours from now on the Vegas Take. Catch you tomorrow, folks. Have a great night.